welcome. So today we're doing it a tiny bit different because I'm on my cell phone. I'm usually on the laptop. And so it's just a little bit different for me. I don't know how to work this on. So let's just dive into the questions. So we just went through, and the star people and I did a little prayer or manifestation to actually raise the frequency of the entire video. And so this is something new that we've been doing it for a couple of weeks now, but we're doing this so that in turn, it raises the frequency of the transmission for each and every one of us who receive it. And so any questions that you guys may have, you could just throw right in the chat box. Hopefully we'll be able to see them. I don't know how it's working, but it's wonderful. Well, now I can't see me. It's okay. So we're just going to dive into the questions. Let's see. Okay. Oh, I can see. Okay. So the first question was the power of three and how it works when we're unaware of it actually working, and cycle ending shifts of three. So every single thought form is downloaded into three individuals at one exact moment. And so what that looks like is you have a bright idea. And so at the exact time that you receive your download, because it's all in a thought form download, that thought form gets transmitted to several people at the same exact time. And so this is the reason why so many different technologies can be perceived in the now moment as all coming right now. Now, how we can each individually change the process or thought forms that are downloaded into the collective consciousness grids is very simple. It's by going inside, raising our biological frequency, and then all of a sudden, when we raise our frequency, that download or slipstream, because it's connected into your heart, and all thought must perceive inside the heart before it is allowed to be expressed through the actual mind. So the heart's always number one. Now, the way that this process works, when we go inside, we raise our frequency, we're actually changing the human collective consciousness grid and all information that is downloaded into the hearts of all people. So it's not just one, it's all of us on this entire earth. Now, it's a blessing because when we start to realize that this is how the system works, now all of a sudden we can go in and we can do an energetic casting back up into the grid. And then we can manifest different forms of thought to come into the hearts of all of humanity. Now, that in itself is a blessing as well, because anyone who is consciously focused on activating the crystalline DNA system or even activating the extrasensory abilities that each and every one of us in human form, we have access to this right now. And so what you guys can do is you can go into your heart. Now, I always start the process of opening up my heart chakra. And so I imagine and visualize something so filled with love and care and kindness that it makes me feel warm inside. So the second that you feel warm inside, you know that, bam, you've already connected in through the slipstream. Now, the slipstream, it's in the direct center of the heart. There's actually a Kundalini channel there. That Kundalini channel is a light channel surrounded in darkness. And it goes right into the center of the four corners of the heart. There's four corners of the heart as well as the brain because it connects in with the four elements. That's what the star people are saying right now. So the second that we understand that, we can go into the heart, expand it very wide as we can get it. Feel that warmth, feel that love-based emotion radiate throughout your entire physical form. And then all of a sudden, you cast it back up. And so when you start to push the energy or the thought form directly up, it comes into your heart, it goes up the crown chakra. You can actually feel, it's like a pressure. So it'll feel like someone is placing a hand on top of your head. And so that's how you'll know, bam, the crown chakra is open, because this is another flower that opens right at the top. And so when it goes back up, just imagine, use your creative childlike mind to broadcast it into the human collective consciousness grids. So the more and more you start to do that process, it's going to allow you to take thoughts and push it back up so that everybody can receive the same consciousness level of thoughts. So just imagine for 1 second, this works in many different ways because it happens automatically, the star people are saying. So anytime that we watch a movie or we're engaging in some topic or science fiction, that information, if it gets you excited, the second that your heart jumps for joy or your excitement gets triggered, it takes the thought and radiates it back up into the human consciousness grid. And so this is how we can start to take our power back, because we can start to take our thought forms and we can start casting them back up at the human consciousness grid. So anytime that you cast a thought up there, I want you guys just to realize that the slipstream is a two-way form of communication. It's instantaneous in its nature. It is above time and space. And so when you cast this back up, it is taking the thought and radiating it down into 3 individuals at one time. This is how powerful we are. Now, of course, there's billions of people on the planet. So how are we going to know it worked? You just have to know it works. Now, cycle ending shifts, they always occur in 3s. And so you may notice, let's say you went through a rock bottom. This happens to so many people, and the rock bottoms can be multiple things. Some people have the homes removed. Some people lose their car. That's a rock bottom because it's leveling the field. Now you have to start from scratch. So anytime that you have to start from scratch, that's always considered an energetic rock bottom. Now, anytime that happens and you take your eyes and you look around, you're going to notice that other people on your energetic grid structure, which are in your energy field, those people are going to be going through similar experiences around the same time as you. And this is because we not only have this aura field surrounding us, but there's primary individuals that are in each and every one of our energetic complex. The energetic complex includes the family members, your secondary members like your co-workers. It includes people that you come into contact with on a daily basis. And so all of these people are your secondary, kind of like player characters is what the star people are saying, but they're soul forms. Now, when we understand this, we take a look at all the people that surround us, all the people that you guys know. Let's say you had your iPhone contact list. All of those people that you know and you've come into contact with, those people are in your grid structure. So have a look at that entire collective. Treat it like it's a collective because it's a part of you. It's a part of your reality because you know all these people in some way or shape or form because they're in your phone. They're with you energetically. Now, this is something that I wasn't even aware of until this very second, but he's saying that we're supposed to clean out our contact list. And so the contact list is all the friends and family and people that you don't know anymore. And we just leave it in the Apple phone and it's like a long list. And I have like over 1,000. Like there's so many contacts. I don't know half of them, but they're saying that each one of those is kind of, he's saying it's not a full energetic cord, but it's a type of energetic cord. Now, it's running in the background. So it's basically tied into the subconscious mind, but it is having an effect on you because there's an energy there. And so when you go through and you start to erase the list and delete people that you know for a fact you're never going to speak to again, then all of a sudden it allows you to rebalance your energy. And it's kind of like you're only sharing your energetic grid structure with the people that you choose to do so. Now, they had actually told me this about maybe it was over a year ago, he's saying. And so he told me that I had to clean out my camera roll. I did not listen. Of course I did not listen because my kids' baby pictures and all that stuff is on there. But the camera roll too, all of those photos, all of those impressions, it has an effect on us. And so it's kind of like spring cleaning and cleaning out your closet. And what I used to do is I used to take all my photos, put them on a stick and then stick them out in the closet and all that. And they had me get rid of all that stuff too. And that was last year. So wonderful. Hi, everyone. Hi, Nicole. Yeah. Oh, man. I did something. I don't know about the comments. I just messed it up. Let me see. What if people around you are losing their stuff, even though you are fine? That's okay. But the people around you, they are part of your energetic grids. And so if they're losing their stuff, I always personally, I take it as like an indication. Like, am I okay? What's happening with them is a reflection because they're attached to me somehow. And so a lot of times birds of a feather flock together. And so what he's saying is, imagine for 1 second, you're in the car with someone and they have something on them that's illegal. Now, if you get pulled over, birds of a feather flock together. And so it's going to have an impact on you because you're in the car with that person. And so he's saying that's how the energetic grids work. It works by an energetic bonding process. And so imagine for 1 second, we have people who are like older people who have been together, like a man and a wife, they've been together for 50 years. Their energetic grid starts a process of bonding. This is what my starman and I did. We went through an energetic bonding. So it's a form of symbiosis. So we can feel each other's energy field. We can feel the emotions. We can trigger different thoughts being pushed at each other. And so this is a form of telepathy. It's empathy as well as telepathy because we're sending thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Now, when we have a man and a wife that have been together for 50 years, they start finishing each other's sentences. And so that's a blessing in itself because it means that they're so connected, so tuned in that they're accessing a form of telepathy. Now, when one of those individuals falls away, the energetic grid is open. So now the individual left, they don't have enough energy, which is the reason why whenever we see one of them pass on, the other person usually gets sick right after because their energy field is not used to operating in itself. Now, it's always very important to maintain the self. And so doing the shadow work means coming into yourself and seeing how you feel. Now, are you happy with just yourself? Can you spend time alone? This was one of my lessons that I had to go through as well. I had to be alone. And it was during the process of being alone, it allowed me to step into my true power. And it allowed me to step into the person I was meant and designed to become. I could have never achieved what I achieved today by hanging out with people who were not up to my level. And so, but I love them. I want to hang out with them. But when you put yourself around negativity, the negativity washes onto you. Basically, it's on your energetic grid. And then all of a sudden, you start to lower your biological frequency because you're hanging out with negativity. And so that's one of those things that each and every one of us has to accept for our own. Now, I understand the process of ascension and evolution. We do have to deal with the politics. And so a lot of times we'll have people who they want to know. And so they have political questions. What's going on, right? What's going on in civilization? All of these different topics come up. And so at this point, when you really start to dive into the spiritual knowledge, you are connected to the politics. You are connected to the entire hologram. And so the politics are a part of you. Whatever emotion you fire off, it's going to add energy into that potential. And then you're going to manifest more of that. And so it's not like we want to turn a blind eye, but we want to find that internal peace and just be okay with it. When you do that, it actually transmutates the entire political situation so that it doesn't rock you. And then all of a sudden you have peace, you've cultivated peace. And what actually happens is your frequency starts to radiate. Now, the star people tell us we have 3 rings above our heads. So the center is kind of like a bullseye. The center ring is directly connected into your binary codex frequency. That's your biological form and the frequency containing your hair color, your eye color, the way your body looks. And so your secondary ring is your location ring, your friends, family, everything that you know, everywhere you've ever been, all that information is encoded into the location ring. The 3rd ring is the universal ring. And so the solar system, all of that information, the planets, everything that you haven't been to the solar system, it's in the solar system ring. So now the process of astral projection allows you to dive into these different rings and witness. So you can go inside yourself and you can go and you can project outward and you can see all of these different things. This is possible too. Oh, my mic is I don't have a mic. And so it's the retrograde. I'm actually not on my laptop with my mic like usual. So I'm on my cell phone. And I didn't even get to link into Instagram today because for some reason my Wi-Fi went down and we couldn't figure it out in time, unfortunately. Hi, everyone. Baby photos too. Yes. I threw them out of my life. Yes. See? Good morning, Facebook user. Excellent. So let's see. Weather patterns and the consciousness reflected. It's actually the consciousness field reflected. And so bad weather and patterning released. Now, currently, as in right now, the past yesterday and today. So I would say it's a little bit more than 20. He's saying 36 hours. The past 36 hours, we are going through a release of the energetics. And so you personally, you may have been pulsed or triggered. You may have felt any type of emotions inside of you that want to be released. They may have come up. Sadness, depression, anger, all of these different emotions I'm seeing coming up in multiple people. It's like a trigger day. But then we're also seeing a release of the energy. And so you may have noticed bad weather patterning. You may have noticed clouds that look like tornadoes, or you may have seen tornadoes in TikTok, or any of that bad weather was coming up, as well as cycle ending shifts. This is just the current energy that we are in right now. And so for each and every one of us, we are always being called to look inside. And when we look inside, we see what we, as an individual, what we need to heal. And so doing a lot of shadow work. Okay, you cried for hours last night. That's what I'm talking about. And so me too, I went through it too. I'm no exception. Like, I do the same exact thing that you guys do, right? And so I have to go and I have to do my own shadow work, which, by the way, we're totally doing the shadow work tonight, and it starts at 8:30. So it is free. So there's no charge. Just send me a message. I'll send you guys a Zoom link so that you can come and we can go through the shadow work, because it's a perfect time anyway. We're going through a cycle release. So let's release everything, so that normally the process of a cycle release, we release these emotions, and then all of a sudden within the next couple of days, we start to receive new emotions. So if you have a look at your energetic grid structure, the way it works is like this. When you remove darkness, we have to fill the grid with light. And so the solar energetics are doing this automatically. We don't have to do anything. We live a human experience. We get triggered, we release, we cry, we do all this stuff that humans do. And then all of a sudden the sun comes and fills us up. This is a natural part of the evolutionary process. We have just not been aware that it happens to us. So when we know that this is the way it works, now we could start to be, more intellectual about it, and we could start to trigger it on purpose. And so we dive inside of ourselves. What is it that I can heal today? What comes up? Make a list. You have to have a pen and a paper. Every single time you do shadow work, you should have a pen and a paper, because specifically you have to write down what emotions came up. Now, a lot of times it's 8:30 Eastern. And so a lot of times these emotions will come up. We'll be in the middle of doing shadow work. You get triggered, you're crying, you're doing all this stuff. And then all of a sudden you forget. And when you forget, it doesn't give you the opportunity to go back the next day and dive into those emotions and just to double check. Is the emotion still triggering me? How does my body feel? Do I feel any tension or tightness or anything, that doesn't feel good in my actual body? Now, even when we go and we dive into attachment removal, sometimes the attachments, they don't want to go. And so sometimes, like one attachment, there'll be another one that goes hiding. And so we won't find them. So this is why we go back in the next day, because the next day, just imagine if we clear 100 attachments off you, which happens every single session, because there's attachments and then there's the relative attachments that hop off, because that's just the way it works. Now, when we dive in and we start clearing them, we have to go in the next day and you have to go through it again, because you just want to check and see how your body feels and see what energies are still inside of you. So this is what we do. Now, this is another reason why we were going in and doing the shadow work, specifically during the retrograde. It's so important to do, because we are releasing during the retrograde. We're not starting anything new. So we're just focusing on inside of ourselves. Okay. So how can you release with love for divorce? So that's tricky. When I went through my I just call it a shift. It was a huge shift. And so, but when I went through mine in 2019, I had to sit down and I had to realize every single person in my life was a reflection of an experience that I needed to have in order for me to evolve and for me to grow. And so going through my divorce, it was a process of, okay, well, I learned boundaries, right? So now I don't let people talk down to me. I don't let people walk all over me. There was a whole learning process, and it's very spiritual when you can come full circle and you see exactly what it is that you have just overcome. It's beautiful every single time that we do it. And so different diseases as well, you come full circle. So you dive into the disease, you feel as crummy as you feel. I used to be a cripple for years, so I know some diseases or illnesses, it takes a 12-year cycle. It depends on what the higher self planned for you before you were manifest into the physical reality, is what the star people are saying. And so 12 years. Now, 5 of those years are usual of a positive or a more positive nature. And so it gives you the opportunity, or it could be reversed, he's saying right now. You could go through it for 7 years in a more positive and then dive into the more negative polarity for 5 years. But either way, it's going to be one of those two things. And so the cycle complete is 12 years total. So this actually happened to me as well, because for the first 7 years, it was bearable. It was, even though there was a lot of pain and it was anguish, it wasn't anything like the end of the cycle. And so the end of my pain cycle, it was like, you're just, the old person is just breaking down, completely unable to walk. And it was just, it is what it is. And then, your dog, when I was drinking all the time too. So when you go through that whole cycle and you see you dive into that darkness, now all of a sudden coming back into the light, this is another reason how we know that we were predestined to have experiences like this. Because when we do go into the light, it took me 2.5 weeks and I was pain free. And I was like, I'll never drink again. But I kept drinking a little bit after that, but still it was like I didn't need to drink anymore, right? It was more social. It wasn't the way it was. So a lot of times we dive into different things. And if you notice you heal from it very rapidly, that means it was something that you were designed to take on to clear the ancestral karma from the family lineage. So I hope that makes sense. Excellent. So, okay, the bad weather and the patterns released. So if you've noticed any bad weather or rain, like the past couple days by me, it's been raining. And so that rain, just think about it like this: rain washes away your emotion bodies. This is why when people are extremely drunk, we put them right in the shower and it sobers them up. And so that's because you're raising the body's frequency by cleansing and purification. Now, if you go to a psychic, they'll give you a bath, and the bath has different herbs and mints, maybe some cinnamon in it, some salts, and then you pour that in your bath. And what does it do? It's actually cleansing the emotion grids, as well as the thought grids can potentially be cleansed. And so, but not only that, different herbs are also adding frequencies into your grids. So cinnamon, for an example, brings abundance. So when you take a tiny pinch of cinnamon, you put it in your bath, now all of a sudden it's in the energetic grid. Thank you, cinnamon, for bringing me full abundance. So there's tons of little hacks that we can do to start to change the way that we manifest things. And I know it seems so silly, but the ancient people used to do it too. They used tons of different plants and herbs. These things are kind of like Mother Earth's gift to us. And so the plants keep us alive. One way or another, even if we're meat eaters, the plants keep us alive, because the animals that we are eating, those animals are eating the plants. Now, the actual life cycle of the plant, just imagine for 1 second that each and every plant on Mother Earth is sitting there and it has to take in the sunshine. Otherwise, it won't exist. It will die. And so when it's taking in that sunshine, it's absorbing all sorts of solar energetics. And then the cow eats the grass, and all the grass and the solar that's in the grass gets ingested by the cow. And now it encodes that frequency into the cow's binary codex frequency inside the physical material the star people are saying. So now we come along, we eat it, and all of a sudden we are receiving all the nutrition from the grass that got the energy from the sun, and it works hand in hand. It's a light and the dark, because each plant, the roots are always in darkness, and then it also requires a light. So we can see the duality from that. Now, when humanity as a whole, the star people are saying, when humanity as a whole no longer needs to eat, that is when we will be absorbing straight solar energetic. That's more of a rainbow body of light activation, he's saying. And so we will get to rise into a higher frequency. And when that happens, duality becomes a little bit smaller. And so there's still a potential to hold the darkness, but it's a lot smaller because we're not fully eating to survive. We're eating more for pleasure. So it's not as much food, and it's digested very, very differently. So that's what he's saying about 5D. Now, density and motion. This is very, very important, because density and motion is, imagine for 1 second, someone falls into a Great Depression and they don't want to leave their bed. So your density is your body's biological frequency. When you fall into sadness, it pushes you into a low frequency range. And so depression, sadness is very, very low. When you're in a low enough frequency range, your location ring becomes very small. This is the higher self, and it's trying to focus. It's kind of like just imagine a magnifying glass, and the magnifying glass changes from a convergent to a divergent focus. And so when you start to do this, all of a sudden your focus, your body will put you in bed because you are meant to bring your consciousness directly inside your biological form. This is part of the process. Anytime you guys get sick, you are meant to turn off the technology, close your eyes, go inside. When you go inside, you can actually pull light or ether or source frequency, whatever terminology you guys want to use. It's all the same thing. You can cast that energy back into your body. You can send it love and light, and all of a sudden you'll start to raise your frequency. So it does make sense, but I've been uncomfortable a little bit, but delight and bliss reigns. Yes. And that's a retrograde. Everyone is going through it. So, none of us are excluded because we're here on earth and that frequency hits us. And what it does is it brings up the things that we need to heal. And even if we don't realize that it's happening, there'll be little things in your everyday world that will come up, and it's just there to prompt you. So take, for an example, someone tripping. It doesn't really seem like a big deal, but if they trip, like say they're tripping on a sidewalk and they just brush it off, it could recycle again into their world. That's because the retrograde energy is bringing up what wants to be healed. And so nobody likes to trip. There was probably an emotion fired off the first time that person tripped. And then that emotion encoded the energetic grid to start a cycle repeat. That's actually how the hologram works. Now, the way the strings are pulled behind the curtain is absolutely amazing because every one of us are running cycle repeats. And so just imagine the divine synchronicities that have to be put into play in order for each and every one of us to have all the cycle repeats and then have all these experiences with one another where, let's say you guys needed a cycle repeat. So you're witnessing someone else do something because you've experienced it. Now you have to witness someone else doing it. And then here I come along and I do it because I needed the doing. And so that's a contract. It's a soul contract. So every single time that we go to sleep, we are technically filling out these soul contracts. It's not a pen and paper. It's done by frequency. So your higher self, along with the conscious mind, except your conscious mind doesn't remember it. So we don't remember that we do this. Your conscious mind will go into a form of a dream, and then it will program what it wants to experience throughout the day. And then all of a sudden, it's like this is part of the string worker ability. And so the string worker ability is saying, okay, this is what I want to manifest. I'm going to pull an energetic cord from that item. And you could just close your eyes and do it. And then you can pull a cord from your heart and tie a little bow onto it. But it gets complicated because you can add so many different elements into this. And then you could just believe that in the ether, there's an energetic cord attached to whatever it is that you want to manifest. The second that there's an energetic cord, you have to continuously send more and more energy through the cord. So you have to consciously think and focus on whatever it is you want to manifest and believe it. The more emotion and the more energy you send through this cord, it's like pulling it closer to you with each emotion of I already have it. And then all of a sudden it falls into your lap. That's the way this works. Now, instantaneous manifestation is readily available right now. And so you just have to hold a high enough frequency, because when you're following your bliss, when you're following love and passion, everything that you need is going to fall into your feet. That's a solid fact. I've seen it, so I know it's real. So the more and more we start to place focus on love, and we start to do kind things for other people. And not only that, but there's a whole lot. That's my train. We love and bless you, train. Let me take a zoom. I know you guys heard it because the window's open. Okay. So whenever we place loving care and kindness on what it is that we wish to manifest, even if it's something that it just seems so big that it may not happen, but we believe in anyway. And so years ago, I started doing manifestations that magic would come to all the people on Earth. I just imagined it as dropping purple circles on the planet and watching them explode, and that purple was opening their third eye. And so now here I am years later, and I'm sitting here having these conversations with you guys. Now I know, because now I know I'm a channel, and I'm stepping into all this great information that's telling us, hey, these abilities are real. It's true. And you just have to follow love and bliss to activate it. Of course, because the star people are correcting me, they're saying you can activate it in either love or anger or fear. That's okay too, because he's saying think about the fight or flight systems, and think about what happens when something happens and it triggers a fear-based response, and then your body and the cortisol, everything fires up, and then all of a sudden you develop superhuman strength so that you can save your life. That can also be activated in fear. However, that's not what I personally don't vibe like that. So I always try and keep it to like the love base. But the star people are saying just be honest and tell the truth so everyone can know. Just do it with the love though, because any negativity always has to be paid. And so if you do dark things, you're going to have to pay that darkness tenfold in order to get back to the level you were at. I've seen that happen too. So I don't mess with it. I just do love and light. It's more fun anyway. Who doesn't want to be in joy and bliss, right? So we should just love each other and just have fun. So, okay. Okay, the next one is angels and demons. And so angels and demons are actually connected to us, and we are one organism. And so I know that it's kind of like a hard concept to grasp for some people, but the light and the dark, it's one organism. Every person on the planet is one organism. Every plant, every animal, every extraterrestrial, every interdimensional being, every extra dimensional being, it's all connected, one individual. That's it. There's one organism. And so the good, the bad, the ugly, it's all connected. Now, if you take a look at a toroidal field, the toroidal field works like this. It is an infinity symbol because it flows like this. In the center of that is an X. That X is directly tied into your heart chakra. So this field, this system, it goes inside each and every one of us. We all have the potential to do bad things. Solid fact. We all have the potential to do good things. Solid fact. And so whichever one that you choose to place the most focus on is what grows. So when you choose to place your focus on love and care and kindness, that grows. And then you end up really happy. If you choose to place your focus on negativity, that grows too. And then it's the darkness and sociopath and all that nonsense. So, but it's all part of the simulation. And so whichever one that you guys choose is what you choose to experience. That's fine too. So we are supposed to have no judgments. Now, no judgments is very different than not taking action. So no judgments basically means it's okay for negative people to have their experience, and we don't have to cast any judgment upon them. We just have to sit in love and light, and we just have to be at peace with what is in the now moment. So when we find inner peace, it actually transmutates all of the energy that is in our energetic grids, and it allows us to raise our frequency. When we do that, we no longer manifest the negative experiences. So we're not going to see the darkness. This is how we start going in. We start accessing 5D frequencies. We sit in the love, joy, and bliss. We allow that to become strengthened into a holographic simulation. That's okay too. And there's no judgments. We just allow whatever is. Now, there's also a call to motion that must be recognized. And so when someone is doing negativity in front of you, there's a call of service. What are you guys going to do? So me personally, if I see someone like yelling and screaming at a kid, I'm going to take action. And actually, this just happened in the laundromat like 2 weeks ago. And so there was a man, it wasn't, I want to say it's not his fault, but he just was not prepared to handle a child. And so me and my children, we went and got coloring books and stuff. And so we tried to diffuse the situation by adding more loving, care, and kind. Right. And so what happened was he ended up smiling. Everyone in the laundromat started gathering around the child, like playing with him so that the man would calm down because he had no idea what he was doing. So, but you see what happens. the second that we come together as one tribe, one community, we can very easily transmutate negativity. And so there's no reason that one of us should be frustrated when there's a whole collective around us. We should help each other, right? So a little bit of love, it goes a long way. Now, the second that they had the coloring book, it was all smiles from then on, because now they had something to focus on together. And then in about 10 minutes, it was so funny because the old guy, he was coloring more than the kid. It was a wonderful experience. So excellent. Very good job. You cleaned out the old, ready for the new. Very, very good. Okay. So tapping into the high frequential guides for advanced channeling is the next topic that we are going to discuss. This is important because out of all the videos I did, I had no idea. It wasn't until one of my very good friends, Karen, she triggered me into talking about the conspiracy on a video that I actually felt the high frequential beings discharge out of my head. And so it's kind of like this. And then I felt it become empty. And then that's when my Starman, he's Arcturian, he's in 5D, but he stepped forward and he was like, the high frequential beings that channel with us, they discharged because we started talking about lower frequency topics. And so now I'm very aware not to dive into the darkness too much when we are channeling high frequential beings. Now, higher frequential beings can be angels. So it depends. I normally get a name, but higher frequentials can be either angels, the Magdalene Collective. You know, we channel Jesus Christ sometimes. He came through. There's just a whole different, the violet flame also came through. So we just be aware, because each and every one has their own feeling. Now, the way to start feeling into the essence or the frequency of these beings is if you close your eyes right now and you had to imagine or picture how would it feel if this person was standing in front of you. You could do it with anyone. It doesn't have to be a higher frequential. So you just close your eyes, everyone, and just imagine and visualize that your mom was standing in front of you looking at you. Now, just imagine that she didn't say anything to you, but how would you feel? You would feel her energy. You would know it was her. There would be a feeling or an intuition. And so that's what this kind of feels like. So absolutely wild. Now, when each and every one of us, we can start coaxing them down. So you have to be very, very positively polarized, and you have to kind of frequency match with them. So I frequency match with them when I'm doing my writings. I just had no idea that they were channeling through me. I always thought it was my Starman. So it's very interesting to feel, and it's like a change of the channeling. And now I know, because now I'm aware. So now I start calling them before the live. So it's just a different sort of connection that now I'm starting to harness. Now, once again, of course, this happens after I went through my own personal healing. And so recently I just healed, I had the teeth thing going on. So I went in and I had all my teeth redone. And then now we start channeling higher frequency beings. So you see that circle of healing, the second it becomes complete, you're actually raising your biological frequency. And then all of a sudden, new information, new guides, new channels come through. Now, each and every one of you guys, you need to know your channels and your guides, the people who are normally with you, trying to help you and guide you, it always changes when you raise your frequency. So for a lot now, my Starman is different because that's like my husband. But all the other guides and people I channel, like I've also had the Indian guides or gods come through. So like Ganesh, Krishna, all these people came through to try and help me through my healing. So a lot of times we'll have particular guides, and then they'll shift when we raise our frequency, and then we'll have a new set. So you always want to ask for a name or just feel the feeling. And how does it feel? Mark it down, write it down so you remember. So it's wonderful. I've been asking to cancel cycle repeats on my addiction cycles. So I've been through addiction cycles. I've been addicted to soda, cigarettes, everything. It's just a nightmare. But I've broken all of them, every single one. And so the way you have to do it, there's a little switch inside of your mind. And a lot of times when you've had enough, you trigger the switch. And so you tell yourself, I'm not doing this anymore. A lot of times when we get sick, the doctor will tell you, you can't do this anymore. It'll trigger the switch unless you're stubborn. And then you still continue to smoke after they tell you to stop smoking, right? So it just depends. Now, whatever you have to tell yourself, just imagine hitting that switch, I'm done. That's what you have to do first. The next thing you have to do is you have to clear the attachments from the addiction. every single addiction, whether it's substances, alcohols, tobacco, it doesn't really matter what it is. You could be addicted to drinking too much water. It doesn't matter what it is. It comes with a range of addiction attachments. They're all different. So imagine for 1 second heavy duty liquor. Now, each type of liquor has a different effect or feeling because everything is an emotion. Each type of alcohol triggers a different emotion. So that different emotion is linked to a different attachment because every one of the attachments are different. You have to know the name. So a lot of times, just imagine what emotions that you guys go through. So let's say, for an example, imagine somebody here has been unconscious before. And so they're saying like the name is knockout. And so it does not necessarily mean someone punched you. It just means knockout. It's like you blacked out, or even blackout is another name of an attachment. And so whenever you start to know and recognize the names of the attachment, you just tell them, get off, go home. Now, I normally do it twice. So knockout, get off, go home. Then I say it a second time. Knockout, get off, go home. Then I take a deep breath in and release. Then I say it one more time. Knockout, get off, go home. When you do it 3 times, the power of 3 kicks in. And not only that, you also want to try and trigger the emotion. So what was the first time that you can ever remember that attachment led to you? That first time, it opened the door to allow him in. So what we want to do is, after we do any type of attachment release, we want to always rub our hands, clap them 3 times, and then send them over the body. I love and bless your body. I love and bless your body. And so what you're doing is you're adding more love and light into the energetic grid structure, which is allowing it to fully heal from the process. You want to continue to do that. Now, over the next couple of days, you want to always place focus on the energetic grids, and you definitely want to continue to clear and focus on the attachments. This is why we make a list. So when you make a list, the next day you can go back in and see if the attachment is fully gone or if there's still some energy in there. You always want to go in, and then there's a whole process of unpacking the emotions. So unpacking the emotions is calling that younger version of yourself. How did it feel the first time that you had this emotion show up in your life? So you want to allow the memory to be triggered. Many times when I do my sessions, the star people show up. And so they show up, and then they follow everyone for an extended period of time as they deem necessary. It's not up to me, it's up to them. But they follow you guys, and then they make sure that you're okay after the attachment release. So this way, if there's anything that continues to come up, they may trigger a memory. And so you may get a flash of the memory. And so you're always supposed to dive in and heal that memory on the spot. This goes for regular life as well, even without an attachment removal. Whenever you have a memory that just comes into your mind sporadically, you're supposed to stop everything that you're doing, dive into the memory, and send it love and light and heal it. Now, the easiest way to do that is to call up the younger version of yourself. That younger version of yourself, just imagine wrapping your arms around him or her, and then gently rocking him or her, and then allowing them to express that emotion. It's okay, sweetheart, let it out. You don't need to carry this anymore. You allow that emotion to come out. It's okay. You're safe. I will protect you. I love you. I bless you. When that younger version of yourself feels like that emotion is cleared or gone, or they want to take your hand and go and play, that's a wrap. The emotion has been unpacked. Now, once again, do that the next day as well, because you unpack it and then you want to keep checking. How does it make you feel? Remember, every single emotion is going to have a trigger somewhere in your body. And so that emotion is going to be latched in somewhere. And so it actually triggers inside the physical form. Now, if you take a magnet, this is a crystal, I don't know the name, but it's a crystal magnet. And so if you take that crystal magnet is going to start to pull the emotion out. Now, some interesting information about the magnets too. One side is north, one side is south. Depending on the side that you do, if you leave your arm all the way out sideways and you put it up at your temple and you push down on your arm, if you place it on, I believe it's north, it's going to allow the arm to go down. So that was something new that I just learned on TikTok. And so I was like, wow, the one lady, she had it down pat. It was amazing. So, but that's another thing that we can see, that different magnets in different locations on the body, it either has a push pull on the energetic grid structure. And so what that allows us to do is, okay, so now we know we want to clear the energy field. We're going to put the magnet one way. We're going to allow it to pull all the energy out of our arm. That's why the arm goes down. But then we're going to turn the magnet around so that it's pushing the energy back up through our arm. So if you take it and you put it down the meridian points, the same points that an acupuncture chart would use, or you just take it and you put it in like the carotid arteries, the temples, all the basic like pressure points, I would imagine it would work very well there as well. So this is important stuff because these are the little things that we can do without utilizing high technology. Now, once again, Mother Earth, the star people are saying, Mother Earth is a giant magnet. Now, what they advise us to do is just imagine. Open that childlike mind, sit on the earth, ground into the earth, put your hands on the earth, and then just thank Mother Earth for sending you the magnetism so that allowing her to clean out your energetic grids. Kinesiology, I don't know what that is. Okay. So when we do that, we allow Mother Earth to fully surround and connect to our energetic grids. She can also do this process. So what I have been doing with people is I actually visualize taking out the chakra and I pull an energetic cord from each chakra. So the blue in the throat, and I imagine just plugging it right into Mother Earth. Now, the solar plexus one, I also plug into the sun because it's giving life energy as well as Mother Earth is rebalancing it. And so just doing that in the mind's eye, we don't realize, but the ether is energy. It's all frequency. And so we don't see it. But if you dove into a meditation and you plugged all your chakras into Mother Earth, including the gamma one, we plugged all of these things in, and someone else went into an astral meditation and they accessed the astral realms, pulled themselves out of their bodies, they would actually be able to see all these different color cords directly connected in with Mother Earth. Anytime you're doing different types of energetic work as well, let's say we take a crystal. So you take a crystal and you go around your entire room and you bless it. So thank you for, only allowing positive beings or entities or only allowing love, joy, and bliss inside of my home. If you pulled yourself out and you remote viewed your location, you would actually see a white line. Now, this also works when we're working on crystal grids. So those crystal grids, when you go and you take the one crystal, it's a crystal point, and you connect one crystal to the next crystal to the next crystal, then all of a sudden, when you're in the astral realm, you could see how the grid is connected. So you guys try it yourself, see for yourself. Anything that I tell you, I want you guys to take it, run with it, and try it yourself. It's very important. So kinesiology is the study of interrelationships of anatomy, physiology, and the mechanics of body movement, especially in humans. It can also refer to a form of therapy that uses muscle monitoring to look at and relieve imbalances in the body. That's amazing. Now, let me tell you, because my neighbor went to a chiropractor and he took this machine and he went up and down the spine and he could tell the voltage in every single one of the discs. And he was like, these have imbalances. And then he was doing some form of Reiki, which is energetic casting, while he was doing adjustments on him. And so, but every single time he went, he would do this monitor, right? So that's the same thing. It's using muscle monitoring to look at. Now, the magnet is the easiest way to start relieving these trapped emotions. Many times we are taught to take the magnet from the chin, go up over, because you have chakras in the chin, at the tip of the nose, and the third eye at the top. So you take it from the chin all the way up and over and straight down the spine. In the rear of the spine, you have to realize that the chakras work like this. The front of the chakra radiates love. So anytime you're in love, imagine that you fell in love with someone, then all of a sudden your heart would open, your chest would be big, your head would be a little bit more upright. And so, but this whole chest area, you would just imagine sending energy from here. It would happen. Not only that, but when you're super in love, you can even feel a vortex energy around you. Now, whenever you're feeling fear or pain, a lot of times the shoulders slouch forward and all of that pain and anger goes out the rear of the chakra. So the rear of the chakra is connected into this toroidal field. The rear chakra is sending this energy into what's known as the void space, or it's like the darkness. We have the darkness and the light, or we have the void and we have the source frequency. It's all one entity though, so it's all one and the same. It just cycles differently. So it's like the light is going into the darkness and it cycles around. This was another thing the star people had me personally focusing on. So I was doing breath work where I was breathing in each color chakra. We also did breath work to breathe in each element. And so when I was releasing, I was to imagine that they were putting a white, and it was super white, like the color of the sun. It was like so white it burns your eyes. A white ball in front of me. They had me release darkness out of the breath, and that darkness would be pulled into the white ball and it would transmutate into light. So the darkness would swirl around a little bit and then it would go completely white again. And so they said that that's releasing any densities inside the body that we don't normally see. A lot of times that density, when we start pulling at emotions and we start doing energy work, we'll see people burp, we'll see them cough, we'll see them yawn. And so this is all natural. It has to do with the attachments and the densities inside as well as on the outside or the upper layer of the physical form. There's many different types of attachments and they latch on all sorts of ways. Okay, let's see. We only got like halfway through the questions tonight. So we are going to stop in about 7 minutes. So in 7, we are doing not the attachment. We're doing the shadow work Zoom tonight. And so this is complimentary. If anybody wants to come, please go to daniellelipton.com and send me a message. Now, you have to wait because on the bottom, there's going to be a little, do you have a message? There's a little box that pops up. Just put your email in there and say, please send me the Zoom link and I will email it to you through there. It's just easier. I kept like missing, there's so many different channels that people could send me messages. So it just got very confusing last 2 times. So just send me a message on the website and I will send you. Can I talk about the experiential attachments? Absolutely. Experiential attachments, they trigger us into certain experiences. So let's say, for an example, it could be any experience at all. Let's say, and they could be positive or negative. Let's say well, here's one that I was running. And so I would always have women come into my life. No, I can't use this one. Wait a second. Give me another experience. Okay, failing a class. So just imagine you're in school and you failed one class, right? So you got all fired up because you usually get A's and now you got a D, whatever. Everyone's different. And so just imagine that is an experience, but it bothered you. So that emotion opened the door to allow an experiential attachment to latch on. Now, the experiential attachment, he wants to experience that experience over and over and over because he's feeding off of your energy anytime that happens. Now, all of a sudden, you start feeling every single grade. That's because you have an experiential attachment on you. So anytime we're having an experience and it repeats, that's when you want to place focus to it. Now, the experiential attachments, they go hand in hand with the cycle repeats. Everything is energy. And so just imagine that the lower vibrational attachments that are triggering these negative experiences, there's also positive ones. The positive ones we call angels, right? And so they're positive. We want them to hang out with us. We want them to surround us. We want them to help us to manifest things. And so what that looks like is like this. Let's say you guys you're focused on a positive experiential. So the one we all want to do is win the lottery. So we always do that one, right? So you get $1 scratch off. Let's say you won $1. And so you can say, thank you, angels, for surrounding me and triggering the experience of, yeah, I won the lottery. And then you have to frequency match with the angel. So you have to jump for joy. You have to activate the excitement. So you can either activate the experience in trauma and tragedy, or you can activate it with love, joy, and bliss. The angels, they'll only come and hang out and trigger experiences for love, joy, and bliss. They don't want to hang around negativity, right? So it's 2 different types of emotion codes of the experience that we are activating. So when we start to do this, even if you only want $1 on the scratch off, jump for joy. Like allow bliss to flow through you. Imagine it's like a rain dance. So the rain dance, the Indians had to feel. It's not only the Indians. The star people are correcting me on this. They're saying it's all people because multiple rainbow warriors from every tribe are doing that currently. So thank you, honey. But he's saying it's everybody. And so jump for joy and bliss and then allow that higher frequential, and oh, it's an angel. And so just allow it to help you to trigger that experience more and more and more. So it's a little different than just activating the emotion, because just activating the emotion is just you. And so all attachments, whether they be positive or negative, have the potential to shift your world so that experiences come easily to you. Now, a lot of times we just pray to God. We don't realize, and we beg for things. We say, please, that's not right. You have to jump for joy. You have to frequency match in order to get one of these guys to latch onto you. When they latch onto you, they will discharge off of you if they don't like your frequency. Now, the thing is that the negative ones, they latch onto us, and then we're in a negative environment. So, of course, they're not going to want to leave unless we consciously clear them. But the higher frequential beings, they'll latch onto us. Many times, I could feel these beings on people too. So I've been in people's houses and they've gone to church every single weekend. And when I go into their house, even if the house is dirty, it's a very clean energy feeling. And that's because the angels latch onto you because they like the experience of you going into a building. It doesn't have to be any particular religion. That's another story. You're going into a building to be spiritual, and a part of you is in a form of a meditation while you're in there. Anytime you're listening to something. So if we're listening to a public speaker, if we're listening to a movie, your subconscious mind activates because it's so much knowledge coming through the person because they're speaking for an hour that your conscious mind can't remember every single word. So the subconscious mind clicks on and it takes over. That's a form of meditation. So while you're in that form of meditation, your frequency automatically is getting raised because you're allowing a download of new information into your energetic rich structure. So the star people is saying, of course, when you're allowing new information, you're tuning into higher frequencies. Of course, the angels are going to want to latch on because they're going to want to see what you do with that information. That's how they work. So now that we know, and it doesn't matter what religion, you can go into any church during the off hours, so you don't have to listen to their knowledge. You could just sit there and they will latch onto you. But you want to try your hardest to focus on love, joy, and bliss, and really get yourself excited on the inside. Excellent. So we have ding, it's 8 o'clock. All right, so we are going to end here because we have the shadow work at 8:30. So in 30 minutes, we're going to start that Zoom. Now, anybody who wants to come, just send me a message. I will send you the Zoom link absolutely complimentary. There's no charge because together we rise. We should be helping each other to raise our frequency and to heal each other, because when we heal each other and we love each other, then all of a sudden it makes everyone a higher frequency, which is a better probability for us to activate the extrasensory abilities and really learn how to manifest a world in which there is peace and love for all people, a world in which everyone is fed, everyone has clothes, everyone has a home, and not only that, but our environments are clean, right? So we want to do this. We want to do it together as one tribe. And so that's what I support. I support all of us being a family and one tribe. So come on down and let's do some shadow work together. Excellent. Thank you, Facebook user. Wonderful. Yes. Also on my website, I do offer sessions. And so you guys can do a one-on-one session with me. We can either do an attachment removal or I channel in your Starseed family. And so they tell us what different gifts and attunements to extrasensory abilities you guys have. So that's always a lot of fun. I love it. So I always have fun. So thank you guys so incredibly much for coming and tuning in tonight, and many, many love and blessings. You guys have a wonderful night.